What do you think about the French adaptation of Tune?
I only saw it 5 minutes ago. I found it very, very powerful and disturbing in a good way. And I think a young audience who saw that, they would, of course, they would have a very strong rapport with it, because it's so full of situations of childhood, the home, and so on. So they would have a strong rapport in that sense, but also it would be very strange. They would see a lot of strange situations and pressure coming out of it, and and I think the way it's performed would really make them think about their lives differently and understand themselves differently, I think.
Il la casserait.
S'y sortir avec ça, de quoi il est capable après? J'ai un peu d'argent à la banque et...
Jeté par la fenêtre, hein? Autant lui offrir des bières en cadeau! Une véranda, c'était une idée stupide. Il y a mieux pour dépenser son argent.
You said it's very French adaptation. Why it's very French?
There are different styles of acting. There's a sort of English style, and there's a French style of acting, and it's just that difference, which is immediately, it's a cultural thing, and it's immediately noticeable. But of course that's necessary because it's for a French audience.
What do you think about the actor performance, French actor performance today?
What do you say to that? I can't comment on my friends, I thought they did it really very, very well. It's very, very, very concentrated, very, very precise. There's nothing lost. They make everything. It's absolutely aimed at the center of the play. So it's just very powerful.
Can you explain me why it was important for you to make the priority about education, theater education in the school? Why it's important for you?
Well, it's only one of the things. In the last sort of 20 years or so, whatever, I've written 9 or 10 plays for young people, and then at the same time I've been writing plays for adults. And curiously enough, they connect. I think that we're living in a very artificial society where people are constantly surrounded by images. Go back a couple of 100 years. There's no film. There's no television, and so the mind and the imagination must be working in an entirely different way. And now there's a sort of constant flood of images and so on, and most of it is being made for profit. And so the people who make it are always trying to find something to sell. Now, supposing in this play the mother was to say to the son, "I will love you, but you must pay me." It would be monstrous and inhuman. But our society is like that. It's perverting and corrupting imagination, and all this is, it's only in the last 75 years or whatever, or television in the last 30 years, and we don't know what the effects of that are going to be. So it's like I wrote a series of plays to be staged in the Colline, Théâtre de la Colline in Paris. And I deal, I think, with the absolute basic problems of how you can discover human identity. you know, almost as it was a series of solo novels, you know, or La Condition Humaine, something like that. And I could deal with absolute, total, extreme experiences. These plays for young people deal with those extreme experiences, but they do it in a way that's creative for young people. That means we don't sort of say, oh, we can't say this and we can't do this because the kids will be upset or anything like that. We deal with we deal very deeply with the total situations of their life. And I always say I never write plays for children. I don't write plays for children. I write plays for those human beings are going to be adults. It's preparing them to find their life as adults. And so I think that's almost like a sort of an oasis in a commercial desert. And I've worked in films, I've worked in television, and I know all about that. When I write for young children, I normally write for teenagers, but then somebody said then Chris Cooper, who runs this, he's the artistic director of the company, he said, you've got to write a play for next year and so on. I said, oh yeah, I'll do that. That's fine, there's no problem. Tell me when you want it by. And so that was okay. And then he said, oh, and by the way, it's for 9-year-olds. I said, how can I write for 9-year-olds? I don't mind writing for teenagers, but for 9-year-olds? You know, I was terrified, actually. But I said I would do it, so I had to do it. But it came, in the end, it was quite simple, because I said, well, if you're going to write for 9-year-olds, then you mustn't be an adult, you've got to be a 9-year-old. You know, you've got to enter that world. Otherwise, I'm a teacher telling them how to be children. Well, they're children, and they know how to be children better than any teacher would know. So I can enter into their reality, and they have the most serious problems. If you went to a church or a criminal court in France, the judge or the priest would be dealing with immensely important questions for society. The young kids are dealing with those questions for themselves. So for me, they give me a gift, because I can respect them. I can respect their needs. I can respect what they want, and I can work with actors who will try to understand and do that. And because I can respect their needs, then I end up by respecting myself. So they give me a gift. The thing is that I decided really, I don't know, about 25 years ago, something like that, that I really didn't like working in the English theatre anymore, because it is now too totally, we speak American, and that means the theatres here, they stage and commission plays that they can take to America. And so they have to be very sellable and very, very, very reduced, and really unpleasant. And it was almost by chance I discovered that there were directors in France who were actually interested in my work, and mind you, they did French productions, and they were very interested in my work. And then just purely by chance. A director called Alain François directed one of my plays, and I didn't see it. And my wife saw it, and she said, "It's very good, and you should have seen it." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry about that." And then he asked me to I met him, and he asked me to write a play or whatever. I don't know. We built up that sort of relationship, and I found he was a writer. I found he was a director who understood my work, and I could respect what he did. So it was a very, very good working European, if you like, cooperation, and I felt surprisingly at home. It's very different, from the German theatre, which I think is a disaster. It really is, a disaster, and so I could. The closest I could get to being Shakespeare was going and working in France.